Well, hey guys, Lace Designs here again, and welcome to Maya Modeling Basics. And in this tutorial, we're going to go through some very basic things, how to create this castle, which is not very great, but you're going to learn some very important tools such as duplicate special and how to group up things, and just very basic things that you should be aware of before we go into more advanced modeling. So without any further saying, let's get started. So we're going to create a new file. I'm not going to save this, and just make sure that your layout looks exactly like mine. You should be on the polygons tab, you should have the polygons shelf, and you should have anything else turned on. You can get this display up by going to display, heads up display, and ticking on poly count if you want to see that, but it's not really necessary. I just have it turned on all the time. Apart from that, I haven't changed around my UE at all, so you should have the exactly same layout as mine. So the first thing we're going to do is create our tower. So if you come to your polygons shelf and click on the cylinder, and we're just going to drag a fairly good size up, and we are in the grid mode. So if I just press 5 on my keyboard, then it will go into shaded view, and now I can see what I'm doing. So after we got our cylinder created, I'm just going to come into my box here and just turn everything to 0, so it will be exactly in the center of our grid. Now the next thing we're going to do is create the top of our tower. So if you come down here to the shelf and pick this, and we're just going to again click and drag, pull up to get the right size-ish, and now we got the top of our tower. So again, I'm going to come into my box here and turn everything to 0, and then if I press W on my keyboard and drag it up, then I'll place it on the top. Now in perspective view, I can't really see where I'm going, so I'm just going to press down spacebar, click in the middle, and go to side view. Now I can see what I'm doing, so I'm just going to pop it right on the top, make sure that it's sitting on the right place. Now after that, I'm going to click and drag, select both of them, and I'm just going to go back to my side view. So press down spacebar, click on the middle, and go to side view. I'm just going to drag this up right so it sits on my grid. Now I'm going to go back to my perspective view, and I quite like how my tower is looking. I'm just going to make my top bit a little bit smaller, so I'm going to select the top bit, press R on my keyboard to scale, and I'm just going to scale it down a little bit. I'm also going to go back to my side view to make sure that it's sitting on the top again. So now that I got that sorted, I just want to put a ring on the bottom. We're not going to go into anything such as extrude and faces and all that sort of stuff. I just want you to get a hang of how to move around in the workspace and how to create basic shapes. So we're going to build this whole castle out of basic shapes. Once we go into more advanced stuff, obviously this is not how we're going to model. So if we just select our cylinder, that's going to be the easiest way. I'm going to duplicate it by pressing down Ctrl and D. And now we got duplicate off that, and that is selected. Then I'm going to press R on my keyboard to scale, and I'm just going to grab the Y axis, the green one, and I'm going to scale it down, and as you can tell right there, it's getting smaller. Now that it is, I'm going to grab the green handle, which is right in the middle, and I'm going to scale it out, and as you can tell, it starts to come out. Now that I got the base, I'm going to let go. I'm going to press W on my keyboard to go back to my move tool, and I'm just going to move it down onto the bottom. Also, I'm going to go into the side view by pressing spacebar, click in the middle, and go to the side view. Now that I got that, I'm just going to move it right to the bottom like so, and go back to my perspective view. So now that I got that, I think I'm gonna have another ring on the top just to make it a little bit different. So I'm gonna select my ring again, Control D to duplicate, and I'm gonna move it up. But also I'm just gonna scale it down a little bit. So press R on your keyboard, select the middle bit, and I'm just gonna scale it down so it's only shown a little bit like so. So now that we've got our tower created and it looks amazing, obviously, we're going to select all of them by clicking and dragging, and then we're going to press Control G on our keyboard to group them together. Now, you can't see that they're grouped together, and also if you click off and then click again, as you can tell, it doesn't select the group, it only selects the object in the group. So if you open up your outliner, which is placed right here, if you press that, now you can see that we got our group right here, and within that, if we open that, we got our cylinders and cones and so on that we created. So you're going to have this outliner open at all times. So I'm going to close the group, and then what I'm going to do is select the group, and as you can tell, our pivot point is not in the middle. So I'm just going to come up to Modify and Center Pivot. Now our pivot is back to where it should be, so that's all sorted. Also going to rename our group to Tower 1, just so we know what's what after we got more objects. Now the next thing I want to create is I'm just going to make a wall that will go in between our tower. So I'm going to go into Top View, and I'm going to pick my box tool right here, and I'm just going to click and drag from the middle because it's going to go into our tower like so. And I'm just going to pull out fairly right distance like so. Then I'm going to go to my side view by pressing our space and clicking, dragging to the right, and I'm going to drag up. I can't see it because I'm in the side view, it should be in the front view, so I'm going to move to my front view, and now I can see what I'm doing. I pulled it up too high, so I'm just going to press R on my keyboard to scale, grab it to make it a little bit smaller, press W on my keyboard again, and move it down like so. So now that I got my wall created, it's looking amazing, but it's a bit too boring for me, so we're going to make it a little bit better. So if you select your wall again and press Control D to duplicate, and we're also going to scale this down really small like so, and then we're going to move it back up like so. So this will be the top of, we'll have some pipes coming down here in between that supports that top bit. So I'm just going to go into my top view. Actually, you can stay in the side view, because front view, because what we're going to do is we're just going to, instead of creating new objects, I really like reusing things. So if there's a cylinder here already and I need a cylinder, I'm just going to grab this cylinder, duplicate it around. Now I've got a cylinder, and press R on your keyboard, scale it down. I'm going to go back into perspective mode so I can see where it is. There it is. I'm going to scale it up a little bit more, make it a little bit taller, maybe a little bit more, like so. And now we've got our cylinder. It sits exactly in the middle because it's on the same pivot point as this one. And I'm just going to move it around to the side right here. Now what I want to achieve is I want to have more of these sitting in between here, but I don't want to just keep going duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. Instead we're going to use the duplicate special tool. So if you come into edit, duplicate special, and just click the little box next to it. Next we're going to put some settings in here. So this is X, Y and Z, translate, rotate and scale. We're going to leave scale at 0, we're going to leave the rotation at 0, and we're just going to use the scale, the translate. So number of copies, probably about 8 or 10 should do it. Translate 0.5 should do it. Let's give it a go by clicking apply. And there it is. It transformed it in the wrong direction, but that's not a problem. We're going to close this. And because they're all selected already, I'm just going to move it where they should be sitting. Go into my front view so I can see how far it is off the last one. And it's all sorted. Now obviously we got one extra, so I'm just going to select that and delete it. Now after we got that, I'm going to select all of these, press Ctrl G to group them together, and I'm also going to come to modify, center pivot, move them up after I duplicated them. So I'm going to press Ctrl G to duplicate. No, sorry, I'm grouping them again. I don't want to group them again. I'm going to press Ctrl D to duplicate, like so. I'm going to make them a little bit smaller. Move it down again, and I'm going to move them to the side, like so. So the next thing I want to create is I want to put cones on the top of this. So I'm just going to grab my cone again, duplicate that, move it to the side, scale it down to the right size, move it down onto the top of one of them, front view, just so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to also make this a bit more smaller, just to so we give it a little bit of a difference, like so. Go into my perspective mode, go to duplicate special, so edit, duplicate special. We're going to leave the same settings, 9 copies this time. So now it duplicates it, then we're just going to move it where they should be sitting again. So I'm going to go back to my front view and just line them up like so. So now that we got that, I'm going to group all this together and name it my wall. I'm also going to duplicate one more of these because this bit looks a bit empty. And this bit looks a bit empty too, so I'm going to put one more of these in there. And then I'm going to select my whole wall, holding down Shift to select extra things into my selection. I'm just going to group this together and name it wall. So now we got a wall and we got a tower, and now it's just a matter of duplicating around and playing around. I'm going to also center pivot this again. So I'm going to duplicate my tower, select my tower in my outliner, Control D to duplicate, move it next to it, and now you got a little wall going on, and you got another tower going on. So I'm going to go into my top view. Now I'm just going to start playing around. So I'm going to duplicate the wall again, Control D. Now I'm going to press E on my keyboard to rotate. I'm just going to rotate it here 90 degrees, and the reason why I want it exactly 90 degrees, so it's parallel to this one. So I'm going to put that in here, rotate Y, press enter, press V on my keyboard. I'm just going to move it right here, move it into my pillar. Now I'm going to do that again, Control D. I'm also going to select my towers, both of them, so holding down Control in the, if you select things in the outliner, then you need to use Control. If you're selecting things in the view box, then you use Shift. I know it's stupid, but this is the way it is. So I got both of my towers selected, press Control D to duplicate. We're just going to move it where it should be sitting again. And I'm also going to select my first wall, press Control D to duplicate, move it where it should be, and now we got a little square thing going on. And the point in this lesson is that after you created one thing, as you can tell, you can very quickly duplicate things around, scale it around, and so on, and you can get a whole new effect going on. You can build up a whole new scene. So we're going to use that technique now. We're at 15 minutes, so I plan to have this first basics at about 20 20 minutes, half an hour, so it should be alright. We're going to keep it as one session. So the next thing we're going to do is, obviously, we're going to just scale things around, give it some more detail. So you can see how out of two, we created two simple things, and then we just duplicate them around and scale them around, and we can build up a whole castle with some little changes. So after we got the first bit created, now I'm gonna duplicate this. Well, actually, I'm not gonna group them together. I'm gonna leave it as separate things. And what I'm gonna do is we're gonna create, I don't know, you can get creative with this. So after this, you can start playing around. But what I'm gonna do is we're gonna have 4 of these on each side, like so. So I'm just selected everything and then duplicated them around, as you can tell, like so. And then what we're gonna have is a big sort of thing in the middle that we're gonna create now. So I'm just gonna select everything and place it back in the middle of my grid. So what we're just gonna, it's gonna be a good other exercise to for duplicate special or rotation and pivot points. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna create a pipe right in the middle. So just drag out like so, pull up, pull to the side to draw the thickness. That should do it. And we're gonna put it in the middle by zeroing the translates out. So now that I've got that, I'm gonna have some pipe sitting on the top again. So I'm just gonna create a cylinder, pull up, press R, scale it, move it, the move tool. So I'm gonna move it so it sits. I'm gonna scale it up so it's a bit taller. Also just gonna scale it down a little bit overall so it sits nicely. So now that I've got that, I want this to rotate around this. Alright, so what we're gonna do is we need to move the pivot point of this right here. So by that, we're gonna press insert, insert, and I'm just gonna move this around into the middle. If we press on snap to grid, then this will snap right into the middle. Then we're gonna turn it off so it's all sorted. Press insert again, and as you can tell, our pivot point is right in the middle now. So after that, I'm gonna press rotate by pressing E on my keyboard, and I'm also gonna duplicate it around and then just rotate it on the y-axis minus 20 degrees. Okay, and then I'm gonna keep doing it. So rotate minus 40, duplicate, rotate minus 60, duplicate, rotate minus 80, duplicate, rotate minus 100, duplicate, rotate minus 120, and then now I'm just gonna select all my cylinders. You could also do this by duplicate special. I'm gonna select all of them, rotate, and it's gonna be minus 120 degrees. I think minus 140. If it does it, oh, that should do as well. Now I'm going to duplicate them around again, move it, and now I'm going to delete the spare ones that I don't need, like so. And as you can tell, everything is rotated perfectly onto the top. Next thing I'm going to do is select all of them so I can group them up, like so. Don't want that. Oh, hang on. So I'm gonna select all of you of the tower, don't want the tower. I don't want the wall either. I'm going to deselect the bottom bit. I'm going to group these up. And duplicate, move it up. And I'm also going to duplicate this ring so it sits in between. And then I'm going to select the second set of the pipes, scale it up, duplicate this ring again, scale it up, and then I'm just going to duplicate one of these cylinders, move it into the middle by clearing out translates. If it wants to do that, for some reason it doesn't really matter, I will just move it in by hand. So I go to my top view, snap to grid, gonna move into the middle, perspective view, gonna move this bad boy up, like so, scale it up, go to my front view so I can see where it's sitting. Gonna turn off snap to grid because it's annoying me. I'm gonna scale it a bit down. And we got that sorted as well. So now we made a kind of castle or village or whatsoever, and it just shows you guys how after you created one thing, you can duplicate it around, play around with it, and even with simple shapes like these ones, you can create pretty cool things. I mean, obviously we didn't spend a lot of time, but this was just an exercise to get you used to moving around and moving and rotating and scaling and duplicate special and pivot points. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and hope you learned a lot. If you want, I would love you to play around with this a bit more, make your castle look cooler than mine, maybe play around an hour with it. Try to make a pretty cool castle just by using simple shapes, so don't go into extrude and oh my god faces and polygons, because all it will do is just confuse you. So just play around more with simple shapes, make your castle, finish it up, not like mine, like could put some more walls into here, connect it up, you know, give it a gate or whatsoever out of simple shapes. I mean, even this wall, you know, I could have made it have an arc in it, but you know, they would only have been simple shapes. So if we just stick with simple shapes, and even with simple shapes and duplicating them around, you could achieve some pretty cool stuff. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next episode where we're going to start actually creating something cool, I guess. Well, hopefully you'll find them cool. And that will be a whole series about modeling one thing in detail. So hopefully by watching the beginner series, you shouldn't be too lost by the time we get to that. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you like the video, favorite, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next part.